So what's going on?
Not a lot.
No?
Not a lot. Uh, really nothing this week is
Yeah.
going on. It's actually finally nice out in Cleveland. It's like 60
Yeah.
degrees now. It's beautiful.
Don't get comfortable.
Don't get too
Okay.
excited.
This is the psychological warfare that is Cleveland weather.
Mm-hmm.
So I was feeling frisky today, and I'm not into holidays. Neither is my husband, thank God. But with the kids being young, I saw that there was all these drops happening.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that? Do you follow that at all?
I do on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they had some good little like Easter basket type things, and I went there and they had like bulbs and flower bulbs, and I controlled myself somewhat, but I did get a lot of that stuff done.
Okay.
Because if you wait, then everything's picked over. Even the dollar store is picked over. So I didn't want to disappoint anyone.
Yeah.
So
Good for you.
Yeah. Fun times.
I should probably go there next.
You should. Or just go to the dollar store because Vince is young enough to where he really doesn't care.
Right.
And everyone's going to get him stuff anyways. So
what's going on with you?
I told you, I told you that I wanted to like discuss some things with you.
Yeah, you've been having me like hanging on.
I know, because sometimes
like a thread since our last podcast.
Yeah.
Because I gotta tell you something.
It's been a weird week, and we do a lot of that voice messaging back and forth.
Yeah.
Because it's like easier than texting. It's a little bit more personal.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not enough to be like telling you full blown details. Yeah. But when we did the music podcast, so if you didn't get to hear it, that we did one on the music industry, and so a lot of today kind of like I feel my
back up to that.
Yeah. Because one of the things that I would have liked to have touched on the last time we didn't have enough time was like witchcraft.
We mentioned that.
Yeah.
And we actually just shared something on our Instagram this morning about witchcraft and music.
Right. With
our satanic princess.
The satanic princess. So if you're, on Instagram or Facebook, check that out. So I hadn't seen a friend of mine. I won't mention any names. But I did tell him that I was like, oh, I'm probably going to talk about this on the podcast. So I hadn't seen this friend in a while. We keep in touch. We were a lot closer when we were like in our 20s and stuff. And he surprised my husband and came to his like little birthday party, and we just got to catch up and stuff. But it was funny because we were all sitting around talking about the teenagers, and like, so all the parents with the teenagers were like talking about some teenage middle school drama, and he was like all into it. He's like,
does he have kids?
No. He's got nephews and a niece that he's really close with that are teenagers. Yeah. And he's like, this is like better than like some of these shows that I watch. And I was like,
it's like drama.
Just like some love connections, some breakups and stuff like that, and some stuff that was going on in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
But he was so cute because he was like, this is like good stuff. But then he starts like talking about a girl that he was dating. He's like, what do you guys think of this? And he was like, again, I'm not going to go super in detail, but he met this girl on a whim. And this what's crazy about this whole conversation too, is that it's all going to lead to some issues I also have with like edibles and things like that. Like, so I'll hold on to that for a minute, because Ohio is now
legal.
Yeah. Recreational use. So he met this girl in a situation where it had to do with like that industry.
Okay. Like pharmaceuticals or for
no, like weed.
Okay.
And then like, they kind of like hooked up and all this stuff, and I guess she was like very aggressive, like, hey, I'm gonna come over, and like, hey, I have this. She's kind of like into herbs and stuff too. So I guess he got sick, and she was like, oh my God, take this, dude. It's kind of like I would do if you got sick, right? Oh my God, I'm coming over. I got
herbal antibiotic.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's like, so I was like, okay, and then so he starts to tell me about this really short-term relationship he had with her. But he's like talking about like all of her methods of like what she would do, like not just with the herbs, but like burning certain things. And like he tells me like, but he's telling me about just her personality was also very like aggressive, but also like it was odd to me that a woman would just behave in this way too. And then I'm like, I'm getting like a witch vibe. And he's like, what? I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm getting like like a witch vibe. He's like, "Are you serious?" Like he was like,
Like what? Like making potions for hair and
yeah. He was concerned. He's like, "Are you like why?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Like just like what you're telling me, right?" Well, he had this really bad episode with this edible that she gave him. And like bad to the point where it was like hours. He was like on the couch, like taking back things he didn't steal, like one of those situations.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, dude, that sucks.
Yeah.
Because I mean, everyone's been there.
Yeah.
Well, not everyone, but a lot of people have been there where you're like, I'm never doing that again. What else did she do that was weird? Okay, so I don't want to, he
Was she
told
like
me
into like crystals too?
the crystals, the herbs, not the herbs. I keep saying herbs, but like when they burn
Sage.
but there was some other things. Wow, I'm like, I think we need to go to your house and like do like, I don't know, and you like pray over the house. He was like, "You're freaking me out." Like I'm like, no, I'm serious though. Like, so and then he was telling me about some parts of the intimacy part of it, and I'm like, dude, she's possessed. She's possessed. And then he was like really freaked out. I texted him the other day. I'm like, "So when are we doing the like exorcism in your house?" I mean, I wasn't messing with him. I was genuinely concerned because I care about him. And I'm like, I think you need to get that shit, And then after like 2 weeks, he was like, wanted nothing to do with her. But I guess after 2 weeks, she was like, "Hey, I was thinking like it's not a good fit." Oh, the other thing that she was into was astrological or
Arrow cards.
no,
astronomy or astrology?
Not astrology. What is it?
Zodiac
Signs. And sending him like all these things on why they're a good match and why it's this season and that. And he was like, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Like,
but think about this. Like, how many people are actually into this kind of stuff? There's so many.
Well, it's easy to be kind of into a lot of it because it's mainstream.
We have a crystal place right down the street.
There's 2 in Strongsville. Why do we need 2 in Strongsville? I don't know.
I know.
So I was just like, oh man, I'm like, so I actually did tell him, I'm like, this is like a topic that would lead me into some conversation I would want to have for like multiple reasons. First off, when it comes to, so my point in that is too, is like, you don't know what kind of spirits you're bringing into your home, around you, into your body, whatever it is, and like people need to be more aware because it's not like TV witches. I'm pretty sure where she's from in Cleveland, from what he told me, is also an area where they have stores witches do and stuff like that. Like, literally, like I had a girl working for me that was a self-proclaimed witch. I didn't know it until much later.
I see on Instagram scrolling, people call themselves witches and stuff,
So that's like a whole thing.
It is a whole thing. And it's not like a hocus pocus witch.
No.
It's like, I don't even understand the details of it. I don't really care to know. It's not.
What they don't know maybe they do know, maybe they don't know what people don't realize is they're summoning spirits. They get power and energy from summoning something and they think it's a higher power. No, it's a fucking, it's not good.
It's like a demon.
Yeah.
That you're summoning.
Right. So, and people like those curses, and we've talked about this before, curses and things like that. People who focus their life on that, or like it's part of their life, like they are more powerful than like a Christian person who's like going to church once a week for an hour. Like, what are you doing every day to work against those forces? Right. Sure, you believe in Jesus Christ. Sure, you might be filled with the Holy Spirit. Those are all wonderful things, but don't forget that you need to protect your house. Like your house, your actual house. You know what I mean? And it's something we all could be better at. But
not by carrying crystals around.
No.
Sorry.
No.
Sorry to offend anybody. But like there's like, I mean, that's a whole movement that I keep seeing. I don't know why.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, maybe because we have 2 stores here in our little city for buying crystals that have, quote unquote healing powers.
Right.
Like who actually is
I mean, I do believe stones have like they're just like with anything on earth, God created things that have.
But why are you putting your focus and energy into a rock? I mean, like put your beloved onto God.
Yeah, like it's like
how do you believe in a rock and not God?
There could be calming effects, I believe, to stones. I don't know enough, but I do believe how that would be possible.
Yeah,
I don't believe it should be used for like creating environments around you. Like they take it to a level where it's like, you know, there's like seance type meditation things where you're incorporating rocks.
in the same like realm, like chakras. You heard of the chakras are and your aura and we even like
there's a lot of great
yoga,
I believe you.
like that Eastern
Mm-hmm.
type of meditation and everything. Like I just think I don't think it's good. I don't think it's a good thing.
I'm not. I
don't judge anybody for doing it.
Mhm.
I just
You
don't.
need to be careful.
Yeah.
You need to be careful what you're doing. You don't even like, even if you were to, you know, they say like amber is super, super calming and good for like babies and breastfeeding or something like that.
Mhm.
Like you go and you purchase something from a store that could be like a witch's shop or whatever. You don't know actually what you're putting on you.
Mhm.
Last year, I don't want to skip around, but last year we were in Florida before, like they had changed some legalization in Florida as well. But last year I went to go get some CBD from a shop there in a really nice area where my parents' place was. And I didn't go there for CBD. I think I was just shopping, and this guy was talking about back pain, and he's like, "These gummies have helped me so much." Like, and so I was like, "Oh, what is it?" And this lady's like, "Oh, these are like CBD gummies, and they're really potent, and they help with pain, and just, you know." And I've taken CBD before for, you know, muscle, whatever. So I'm like, "Oh, maybe I'll get those because, like, you know, that'd be good for my back, and you know, maybe Pete can have some." So I get them, and I ate one. It was they're not supposed to get you high or anything, right? And I felt totally fine. I actually slept great that night, whatever. Peter took one and he woke up like groggy and was kind of like pissy. This was like a couple nights later. Well, Brittany,
that's right. You told me about this.
Yeah.
Brittany took one and
Brittany
she
came
got
over.
sick.
Yeah. She woke up. So she took one at night. She chewed one at night. And then I think you need to come a little closer.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
She took one at night. And then the next morning she wakes up and she's like, dude, there's something really wrong. And her eye totally like pupils dilated, miserable, high as high can be. And I'm like, dude, there's no THC in these. Like, that's it. Like, there's no way you're getting, she's like, dude, I don't feel right. Like, she was like paranoid, sick, everything. And I'm like, so she goes to bed, I give her water, whatever. She wakes up a couple hours later. She felt better, but she was messed up all day.
Yeah, that's so odd.
Peter had reflected back and said, ever since I was taking those gummies, I felt I had been sleeping like shit. I don't feel good. I'm angry. And I'm like, all right.
So like
I threw them away.
in those.
I threw them away. This store was one of those oil crystal incense shops. Like it was like a beach store, but they had like they had a psychic reader in there. But this was, first off, this was a year ago. And I only after this happened, I was like, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
God knows, right?
Right.
Only God knows. So going back to this situation with my friend who's telling me the story about this chick, she was also into the astrology thing or the zodiac signs. And I touch on that. I want to touch on this just briefly because my family's big on like, oh, you're a Scorpio, you're a Cancer, you're this, you're that. Well, they like to make fun of all the March babies in our family because they're Pisces and they're super sensitive. Now, I love my husband's personality, very emotional and sensitive, all the things. But for a long time, I'm like, it is kind of true. Everyone who's born in these different pockets all kind of act the same. They all have the same traits,
like
you know?
Scorpios.
Like
Cancers.
Right. And all my friends, my entire life have literally been either Scorpios or Pisces. Like I can go down the line and tell you 95% of the people who I've been close with are all the same zodiac signs. I don't look for them. It's not like I'm like, yeah, Scorpio.
I know.
Right? They really went out one night and every single person besides me was a Scorpio.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, this is so funny. This is crazy. Yeah. Right? So, but do I base anything off of that? No. But here's where I just got an awakening. You cannot identify these. The reason why those things are dangerous, like even for us, right? Some people take it too far. They read their zodiac signs. They, you know,
they have that little like the zodiac symbol like in their biography.
Exactly. That's too far. But like even us, right? Talking about it or reflect like, oh, my husband's this, but you're identifying in that characteristic.
Mm-hmm.
That's not you.
Yeah.
That's not who you are. Right? Like you're your own unique person. And because somebody said you're born, you know, June 29th and you're a Cancer and these are your characteristics, you begin to identify with those characteristics. Really,
because what you're being told
from a young, you know, perspective, you know, from a young age.
Identity is a huge thing right now. That's actually my word of the year.
Identity, right?
Identity. Because I just feel like right now, especially in today's world, identity is completely lost. Like if you were to ask yourself, like, who are you? You know, like, can you say who you are without being like, well, this is what I do for a living. And I have 2 kids and blah, 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 you know, and I'm a wife and I'm this and I'm this. You're like claiming that you are who you are by your surroundings.
Right.
And what you physically do, you know, but who are you?
You know, that's a good point, because when I stopped the business, I think part of like struggling was I was this person for so long. I was like this health professional, and I was this business owner, and I was like this leader in this and this educator. And then like,
boom,
it was gone.
Yeah. Identity crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it was like, I wanted to be home with my kids, and I wanted to be a mother because I kept having kids, but suddenly now I'm known as that.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. No, I'm like the other thing.
Yeah. You're CEO.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love fitness. I love working out. I love making healthy food. Like, that's me, not this. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
It was like, but it doesn't, you know, because
it doesn't matter.
No. So don't identify as a zodiac sign is what I got out of it. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, don't allow the next generation of people, or it's kind of like, you're just like your aunt so-and-so. Oh my gosh, you're just like, your mom will tell you that over and over and over again. And then you're like, oh yeah, I am like that person.
Yeah. And then you start blaming things. You start, you know, you get into an argument with your husband and you're like, oh, well, you know, I'm like this because my dad was kind of like that too.
Right.
And
Exactly.
You know, you start identifying as that person. And it's just,
and if they addressed it as a negative, then that's a negative characteristic in yourself. They addressed it as a positive, then that would be a positive. But like, you know, 90% of the time, people aren't saying it in a positive way.
Right.
My whole mom's like, you're your father. I'm like, well, when you say it like that, it doesn't sound very nice, but thank you.
Yeah.
Like, he's a good guy. He's the guy. So that's like another thing that like is very along the same lines, you know, as what would be considered, you know, so fortune telling and, you know,
magicians,
magicians,
witchcraft and sorcery and
sorcery links into sorcery in the day was, along the same lines as like the pharmakia that we had spoke about.
Yeah.
Pharmacy, right?
Yep.
Which again, going back to these edibles and things like that, we're messing with.
Yeah, we don't know nature.
We don't know where things are coming from.
No, we're not.
I watched a whole thing. I highly recommend you go on. I think it's Netflix. There's a series called Rotten, and it's a documentary that covers like every episode's like a different industry, whether it's avocados or like quinoa. Let's say like where quinoa comes from, which sounds kind of boring, but
great.
If you see where things come from, not in a bad way, but like what the industry does to certain communities, like what it depletes from South America or whatever. Well, edibles is such an interesting one.
Okay.
Because it covers two very different sides of it. Because it's, did you know that in Amsterdam, even though everyone would think it was legal, it was only legal in coffee shops and only a certain type? Like you can't, they can't regulate it. Weed.
Oh, weed.
Yeah. There was like, it's basically regulated by the mafia.
That's great.
Okay. Yeah. So you can't actually sell it on the streets. It's specifically in these coffee shops, and you can't put like strengths and stuff on it. Like, you know, like this much THC and that much. I don't know. It's really interesting. I highly recommend watching.
Okay. Yeah, I'll watch it.
But it got me thinking like how dangerous that industry is, you know?
Yeah.
Just in general with you know, there are some people really, really working very hard to fine tune it down to like, you know, the milligram of what it's doing to you or whatever. But in most cases it's not. So you never know what those things are going to do.
Right.
So when it comes to sorcery and witchcraft and, you know,
I think it's a slippery slope. It's a very slippery slope because it can come off as very like innocent at first. Like, you know, like I keep going back to the crystals and like yoga and chakras and stuff, but like
you don't do yoga anymore, do you?
I don't. And I actually used to love yoga. I mean, that's what I did for years before I got pregnant and while I was pregnant. And I got really good at it. You know, I loved it for my muscular strength. And I didn't realize how all the poses were worshiping a god. And I didn't even know that until like because I used to do it at home and I would put it on like YouTube TV. I think I was doing like aloe yoga, and they had like all different kinds of instructors, and it was whatever kind of style of yoga that you like to follow.
Right.
And I would just, change it up all throughout the days and everything. And then I followed this one instructor and she was like, something about like, finding your aura and your chakra and going like deep and like, finding like your inner eye. And I'm just like, what is
am I doing?
happening? What is this? And then talking about like all the names of which I understood, like I got the names, but then like actually like salutation, the sun and this. And then I'm like,
oh, she took a deep.
ooh,
That happened to me in Florida one time.
yeah. And then I got like kind of like the heebie-jeebs. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to a bar. I think I'm gonna go to bar workout now, like, and that was before I even really knew God.
Right.
Yeah, but it was still
It was just weird.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear anyone do it in teach a class in Sanskrit? Whatever it's called.
No.
That happened to me. Like I was just innocently taking a yoga class and I was in Florida and she was like doing all this like we're gonna pray to whatever and like she was speaking in a different like language and I'm like dear Jesus, I'm sorry. Like I was literally praying because I was so freaked out.
Yeah.
And I don't think even my relationship was at that level yet. I was just like, doesn't feel right.
Yeah,
it was intense.
I kind of got a little weird from it, and then with the sorcery and the magician stuff, I don't know.
Well, I think we innocently were like, oh, magicians, but like we've even spoke about the levitating, the magicians are different now. They do some crazy stuff. People think it's an illusion, but it's actually not. They are summoning some sort of spirit to make certain things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, oh my gosh, like, oh no, they're really doing some shit.
Right. And like the tarot card readers and people summoning spirits to talk to other people.
Yeah. So psychic readers, I would say this is another thing. Like, and I actually mentioned something in Florida to somebody about the psychic readers in these weird stores. They're like, oh, that's big here. So I think
there's a whole bunch right next door too. Like the
psychic
front
readers.
Road. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, in Florida, they're everywhere. Yeah. So I get the pull for people to do that, but like
it's a scam. I just wish people
if they are hearing something or seeing something, it's not your loved one.
No.
It is someone probably posing as your loved one, which I know that originally when we even brought this topic up, you were like, oh wait, didn't we have this conversation about 1 Samuel? And I'm like, oh yeah. So I would love to read some scripture that I read again today and blew me away because I totally read it differently.
Yep.
And I wanted to go back and look at notes from a discussion that we've had on this topic before, but I can't find them, which might be on purpose because maybe there's a different perspective now.
Mm-hmm.
So would you read for us 1 Samuel 28? Now this is Samuel is dead. Saul is king.
Well, I won't go into like because it's a big chapter.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, Saul, who is king of Israel at the time, he had some bad news, or he was about to go into war, I think, with like Philistine?
He was scared.
Yeah, he got scared. And so he wanted to know the outcome of it. So he wanted to go, and he had outlawed all sorcerers and magicians and any kind of witchcraft from the land.
And what had he been doing that God shut him out? Because God
wasn't listening to God, or he was
doing things his own way prior to that chapter.
Yeah, I didn't read that back, but
he was doing something that God had. He couldn't hear God's voice.
Yeah, so he's like, okay, fine, I'll go find a medium,
which was illegal. Which he put that in place.
He disguised himself and went and found a medium, and he's like, I want you to summon Samuel, who was a prophet, who was able to, tell you the word of God in the future. And so she's like, oh, this is illegal.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I want you to do it anyway. And then I don't know.
You won't get any trouble. I can promise you that.
Yeah.
Help me.
Yeah.
Now read it.
Okay.
The best you can.
All right. So Saul disguised himself and put on other garments and went, and he and 2 other men with him, and they came to a woman by night. And they said, divine for me by a spirit, and bring up for me whoever I shall name to you. The woman said to him, surely you know what Saul has done. He has cut off all the mediums from this land. Why then are you laying a trap for my life to bring about my death? But Saul swore to her and said, as the Lord lives, no punishment should come upon you for this. Then the woman said, whom shall I bring up for you? And he said, bring up Samuel for me. When the woman saw Samuel, she cried out loud. The king said to her, do not be afraid. What do you see? And the woman said to Saul, I see a God coming up out of the earth. He said to her, what is his appearance? An old man is coming up, and he is wrapped in a robe. And Saul knew that it was Samuel, and he bowed with his face to the ground and paid homage. Then Samuel said to Saul, why have you disturbed me by bringing me up? Saul answered, I am in great distress, for the Philistines are warring against me, and God has turned away from me and answers me no more, either by prophets or by dreams. Therefore, I have summoned you to tell me what I shall do.
This is what got me today. She freaks out and she's like, oh my God, what did you do? Who is this? Okay.
Brings me up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you catch that too?
Yeah, I did.
Why did you bring me up?
Bring me up. Yeah.
Okay. Now, that was the first time I maybe noticed that.
Yeah.
So she sees an old man in a robe, a God figure, G-O-D lowercase.
I see a God coming up out of the earth. Why have you disturbed me by bringing me up? I am in great distress, Saul said, for God has turned away from me. Therefore, I summoned you, and tell me, what shall I do? And Samuel said, why then do you ask me, since the Lord has turned from you and your enemy? The Lord has done to you as he spoke by me, for the Lord has torn the kingdom out of your hand and given it to your neighbor David. Because you did not obey the voice of the Lord and did not carry out his fierce wrath against Amalek, therefore the Lord has done this thing for you this day. Moreover, the Lord will give Israel also with you into the hand of Philistines, and tomorrow you and your sons shall be with me.
Where are they going to be?
Right.
Dead where?
Right.
Down below, because that is a demon character
Yeah.
of some sort. That was not Samuel coming back, right?
Isn't Saul's sons like bad? Yeah. I remember reading that now.
Yeah. I don't remember breaking it down like that before.
No.
Right?
No.
I remember the focus when I was doing the study previously was on what this woman said, and she was like, I don't know. I wish I could find my notes because I remember it being like, oh my gosh. But I don't ever think I realized. So that to me was like
big. He comes up from the earth, out of bringing him up.
Yes.
And then bring me down, or bringing him and his sons back down.
Right.
Yeah.
And does Saul loses the ability to hear God, and his sons are bad, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Chances are, bro, you're going to an ugly place. I don't know. I wasn't there. Okay. We'll find out one day. But that's scary. Okay. That's very scary.
Yeah. And then backing it up a little bit into Deuteronomy from God, there shall not be found anyone among you who burns his son or his daughter as an offering. Anyone who practices divination or tells fortunes or interprets omens, or a sorcerer or a charmer or a medium or a necromancer, or one who inquires of the dead, for whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord. And because of these abominations, the Lord your God is driving them out before you.
I can understand why it's comforting. Like,
I have a girlfriend who goes to mediums because she lost her son.
Yeah.
And wants to talk to him.
Heartbreaking.
I know. And I don't know how to tell her. I had an experience once, and I think you and I've had this talk before. I lost my grandpa, and I watched him pass in a nursing home. And I remember that night I woke up, or I was in and out of crying. I was really hurt by it. I woke up. It was like dusk, and I was by myself in bed, and I could feel like as if someone came into bed with me and hugged me while I was crying.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that was my grandpa. And then forward 10 more years, and I just don't believe that was my grandpa anymore. I just think I don't know if I want to go down that road today, but I just feel like
I think it's relevant because I'm going to tell you why. I had to have this a revelation, if you want to call it. Okay. When somebody passes and you get these signs, sometimes it's dreams. sometimes I would have dreams before someone died that would wake me up at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning and say, call your, or you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I'd be like, call my aunt up. Yeah, he's not doing good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's God, I believe, nudging you,
Mhm. Mhm.
like, hey, or whatever. But my aunt passed away. I've had so many experiences when my family has passed away where I'm like, it's either a dream or something happens and I'm like, whoa. But I was crying so bad in my kitchen
Yeah.
after she passed away. And something happened in there and something like fell on the ground. It was very significant at the time. And I don't believe it's the person.
Mhm.
I believe it's God like showing you something
Mhm.
to comfort you.
Mhm.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Like that person's okay kind of thing.
Mhm.
I don't think it's the person. And when I had this revelation after like, I mean, my one aunt told me a story about she's watching the video from the funeral home from my uncle's thing, and then this toy bird started chirping.
Mhm.
This thing is like off, battery off, several years old. It's like hanging somewhere. And she's like, what the heck? She thought it was the video. She turns the video down. She's like, Joe, is that you? Or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
not freaked out or anything. She's like, if it's you, do it again.
Mhm.
And not right at that moment, but shortly after that thing started chirping.
Wow.
And again, my first instinct is like, oh,
Yeah.
some spirit is in there. And then I'm like, no, like that could very well be like the Lord's like comforting hands. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because in this specific person in my family who passed, his death was very spiritual. Like some things happened when he was passing.
Mhm.
Like the cat was running around the room and doing all this weird stuff. Like it was like there's, and then
Like disturbed.
yeah, very disturbing. And the cat literally like as he was passing or whatever, stood up on a chair, was looking up into the corner. And like, I don't know, like when you hear them, like,
I know.
not to get like, but the reason why that matters is because you're going to have these people abusing the fact that people are hurting and they're looking for a sign when really, if you just cry out to the Lord
Mhm.
for comfort,
Yeah.
he will give it to you in whatever form makes sense because he's the only one who knows where your heart's at, where that person means, what that person means to you, and I think it's different than, having some sort of seance. Obviously it's definitely different, and like what you don't know what you're bringing in then.
I just feel like
So you don't know, maybe maybe that was like
God.
a form of him exposing himself to you, God saying like, I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know where your grandpa was at as far as his spiritual walk, but anyways,
I don't know.
that's
I just feel like I just feel like the sorcery, the mediums, the tarot cards, anything that's deviating you from God is not, it's not godly, And I mean, it's kind of like I said, it's just a very slippery slope when we start talking about calling to other people to talk to dead people.
absolutely. Can I give you one more example?
Yeah.
Because I feel like it could maybe be inspiration for people out there.
Yeah.
When little Peter was like second birthday at the pool or something, or third, one of them, they're always at the pool. I invited my uncle Ronnie because that's my aunt Marisa who passed away, his husband. And aunts and uncles, I wanted them to be there, even though it's like very much a friend and
Yeah.
neighborhood party. Her birthday is July 29th. Peter's is August 6th.
Mhm.
He was actually due on her birthday.
Yeah.
I had a horrible week that week. I'm talking one of those weeks where I was just crying, pain. You know what I'm saying? Like one of those really difficult times. And my uncle came to the party and I don't think he RSVP'd. I think like it was just one of those things, like whoever's going to come, And when he came, I was like, so happy. Like it was the best. Okay.
Mhm.
And then he hung out the whole time. Like it just was awesome to have him there. And I was like, I'm so glad you came. It means so much. And he was like, I woke up today and I got a big nudge to be here. And I thought, and he said, and I said, okay, Marisa, I get it. Because she kept pushing me. And I was like, wow, you know, and then it was like, for him, that was her pushing him. For me, that was God going, you know what? Go.
Yeah.
Go. Whether it was for him or for me or for whatever reason. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what that felt like to me when I heard him say that.
Right.
I think that's a big difference.
Right.
Because what people want to say is, oh, I got this sign because, you know, they must have been watching over me. And, you know, which is comforting.
It is.
If you don't have the relationship with God, right?
Yeah. And that's usually what it turns into, is not having a relationship with God, which is why I feel like, I know, which is another reason why I feel like people can easily get fallen into all this other stuff that is actually like, to me, it's demon worshiping, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I just find so much comfort knowing that I can go to God for everything.
Right.
You know?
Let him intervene.
Yeah, let him intervene. You know, and I just feel like, even with that being said, even the stuff that we see online with all the crap on you know, these rabbit holes, and even like when we go into like how deep like the New World Order is, and you know, like all this stuff with all the stuff with Kate Middleton right now.
Do you think that people don't believe those things are happening? They're following just mainstream media. Are they getting different information? Because I feel like there's a lot of blatant information out right now that people are overlooking. You and I spoke briefly on the royal family. I know this is going in a different direction. Kate Middleton is missing.
Yeah, she's
uninvited. Yeah, I know. No one's seen her since December, apparently.
She had some kind of surgery,
supposedly
abdominal surgery, and then what, the guy's got cancer. The king,
so King Charles, prostate. I think it's prostate or something. But then there's just other things, other deaths happening and illnesses happening in the royal family. I don't really care too much about that. I think it's interesting that, you know, Prince Philip passed, Queen Elizabeth passed, King Charles comes in, right? Now he's sick.
Kate's missing.
Kate's missing. Other people in the royal family are sick or dead.
Passing away.
No disrespect to our president, but he's clearly not well, right? I can't even believe that no matter what side that you're on, that you could even watch this man speak and not realize that this is a total joke, clown show, right? Like, they're purposely putting this figure out there that's clearly not well.
Right.
And it's bizarre. Oh,
it's like dismantling all the head figures in the world, right?
So what's going on here? Are they setting us up for, like, either people just disappearing and us not questioning where they went because they're living in underground bunkers? Or
is it a distraction? Is it Kate Middleton's thing? Yeah, distraction.
But and they get on distraction. I don't notice, because I feel like I hear about it, but I don't know.
It's all over the internet right now. Everyone's breaking down that photo. Did you see that picture of her?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that photo, the family photo, or
the family photo versus her in Vogue. Like, I guess it's photo
same face. Well, we don't really know what pictures are real anymore.
Yeah, I mean, like, and that's the thing. If they wanted to actually reintroduce her, it could be AI. I mean, who knows what's real character?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Like, that's the problem. I mean, this is the problem that I'm having right now with all of this, with the technology that we have, with AI, with our leaders who no one's leading. Like, who's actually leading?
Well, what about, like, if you see, like, I don't want to sound ignorant, but where are all the major world leaders at?
I don't know.
I mean, like, all of a sudden they're here and they're causing chaos, and then they're gone.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then gone.
Yeah.
And then here we are leading up into our, 2024.
Into a new election.
Yeah. Which big Trump fans like my mom are, like, so excited. Like, oh, he's going to win it, and everything's going to go back to the way it was, and it's going to be, the economy's going to be great. And, like, depending on, I mean, there's even, people who voted for Biden who are now like, no, I'm voting for, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which is because, but that's a whole other thing. I don't even get myself caught up in, but I always said this: if he comes back, there's a good chance that he's the Antichrist.
Possibly.
No offense to anybody who's a huge fan. I don't care. I don't believe any of it. I think we're living in a
over that.
alternate universe of like, I just don't think it matters.
I don't think it really matters.
I think it's in place to control every single scenario that we're confronted with on a daily basis. But that's another podcast.
Yeah, it's a whole different podcast.
But yeah, so I don't know. What is the deal?
I don't know, but I just feel like I just want to put it out there, not to get too invested in all of it.
Yeah, don't get caught up into
because it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter. The bunkers aren't going to matter. The monarchy is not. Kate Middleton doesn't matter.
No.
There's a bigger thing going on.
Right.
Under. I don't know where. I don't know where it's going on, but
it's more. It's
encompassing everything.
Yeah. So now more than ever, where are you putting your faith in government?
Yeah.
I hope not.
You can't sit there and be like, oh, my vote's going to matter. Voting this election is going to matter, because it's not.
Well, people need to put their energy into
their salvation,
because no human being is going to make that big of a difference.
No.
Because even if everything gets better and, the economy gets better
yeah.
and inflation,
we're still having a spiritual warfare, regardless.
My concern is that a new leader comes into place and makes everything better. And because people have been struggling, like the vast majority of people, with the exception of, certain, careers and groups, are really feeling the pinch.
Yeah.
Okay. Whether you're just trying to feed your family, you've been wanting to buy a house, you're trying to pay off school debt, whatever it is. I'm sorry, it cost me $600 to go to the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
It's painful.
Yeah.
If somebody can come and get us out of that, oh man, life is good.
Right.
And that person's going to be the savior.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But we all know that that's an illusion. It's an illusion, and it's a temporary,
fix.
So
I don't know. I felt like we needed to throw that in. Like, again, don't deviate from what you know.
Right.
And don't get too caught up in the holes, because it's easy to do. Don't get caught up in our leaders and what they're doing.
Right.
Because it doesn't matter. And just focus on
your family.
Yeah. Get your house protected.
Yeah.
And not saying
get your house in order.
Yeah. But
when they say when it says get your house in order, I'm pretty sure
saying load up on ammo and food.
That's spiritual warfare.
And not an EMP.
Right.
Like,
you might need it.
I mean, you could.
Let's face it. I mean,
I'm not building a bunker.
No. Build a garden.
Yeah. Right?
Did you hear about vaccines going in food?
Yeah, I did.
I did not.
That's no. Did you hear about the appeal?
Well, they're selling that at Heinen's now.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, the big appeal.
That's nice.
I was shopping there the other day. I'm like, oh, I'm not buying that fruit. But the vaccines this just passed in California.
That's great.
And they're like, oh, have they just told us about it? But it's always been going on.
I think it's been going on for a while, because I think this has been an issue now for a while.
Yeah.
Actually, I shared something on that on my Instagram, and that got taken down, and that was my first shadow
appeal or the
vaccines and the food.
Okay, well then maybe we should.
Well, it's a thing now.
Yeah.
But I got shadow banned just for saying that. That was like a year and a half ago.
Oh yeah, because they probably have been doing it, but now it's
yeah, and not to mention like our produce, or not produce, but our pigs and cows and everything that we're getting meat from too.
Right. Well, we don't even know it's lab, right?
Yeah, they are.
If there's articles that Europe is banning lab meats, that should tell you that
we're not.
It's out there.
Well, and that we're not.
Yeah. Apparently, if Italy's like, we're not doing that, that means other places are. America. Okay. We're going to be doing a podcast on food, because it's just so fucked up.
I know.
So that'll probably be one of our next ones. So stay tuned for that. But yeah.
That was a long one today, guys.
That was long.
Thanks for sticking around. You're here still listening to us talk.
It's lava. And look at how cute.
Aww. I know, my little baby.
I ain't a baby anymore. Okay.
All right, guys. God
bless.